On this video, I'm going to be reading John 6 slowly in Greek, verse by verse, and then translating it into Hebrew and doing like a running commentary, like phrase by phrase. Matatauta apeothen ha Jesus, perantes thalases tes Galileas tes Tiberiadas. After these things, Jesus departed across the Sea of Galilee of Tiberias. So he went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, and we're going to see the miracle of the feeding of the 5,000. Ekaluthe de auto aklas palus, hate ethaorun ta semea ha apoye epiton astenunton. And a great crowd, was following him because they were seeing the signs which he was doing upon those that were sick or diseased. They're seeing his miracles and what he's doing. And so they're following him, and he's going to now perform a great miracle in John's Gospel of feeding 5,000. It goes on, verse 3, Aneothen de esta aras Jesus kayake ekatheta metaton metheton autu. And he went up unto the mountain. Jesus went up to the mountain, and there was sitting with his disciples. Notice he brings his disciples with him in everything that's going on. One of the things that I think we should think about as we're discipling others or ministering for the Lord is let others share in what we're doing. This is what Jesus does. Verse 4 then. Ende engus ta pascha che orte ton Judaion. Now the feast was near, that is, the Passover of the Jews. It was near, and so there's a large crowd there because of that, where they would come to celebrate or to observe the Passover. It was a time when there would have been a large crowd. Eparas un tus ophthalmus ha Jesus kai the asamenas hate palus aklas erkatai pras autan lege pras Philippon pathen agorasomen artus hena phagosin hutoi. Notice here, lifting up, Jesus lifting up his eyes and seeing that there was a great crowd coming to him, says to Philip, from where might we buy bread in order that we might feed these? And I think he's really somewhat testing Philip here. Where are we going to get bread to feed all of these? So many people. Apeklithe auto ha Philippas, dia casion denarion artoi, kai arcusen autois hena hekastas brachu ti labe. And Philip answered, 200 denarii would not be sufficient for these in order that they might have a little, in order that each one might get a little. And you're talking about 20 or 200 days' wages, 18 cents equal a denarius. So well, that would be one day's wages. So you're talking about an amazing amount of bread that you would have to find. And so Philip probably is beside himself. Legel to eis ek ton mate ton autu. He says, one out of from the disciples says, and that is Andrew, Andreas ha adelphos, Simonas Petru. Andrew, Simon's brother, said to him, there's a lad here, verse 9, Estin paidarian odechas eke penta artus Christinus kai duo hapsoria ala tauta te estin eis tasutos. In other words, Philip or Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said, there's a little lad here, and he has 5 loaves of barley and 2 fish. But what are these? What are they among so many? In other words, he realized, how can that be among so many? And notice Jesus said, verse 10, Epen ha Jesus, poiesate tous anthropous anapesein, ein de curtas palus in to tapo, anepesan un hoi andres tan arithman hos penta kiskilion. That is, and Jesus said, make the people to sit down, and we're told there was much grass there in the place. So the men sat down in numbers about 5,000. And this is an amazing miracle. Elaben un tus artus ha Jesus, kai eucharistesas di edoken, tois anakemenois hamoias kai ekton apsarion hasan ethelan. Jesus then took the bread, the loaves, and after he had given thanks, he gave it to those who were sitting. It's amazing when you think about this. He distributed it to those that were seated, and likewise also the fish, and so much as they desired. Think about that. Jesus gives out of that small amount all that is needed, and there's going to be some leftover. Notice verse 12. Hoste en a place they son, nege tois matetais autu, sunagagete ta peresusanta plasmata penamete apaletai. So, when they were filled, after they had eaten their fill, he says to his disciples, gather up the fragments that are left, that which is left over, that nothing might be lost. In other words, he doesn't want to lose anything. So there's fragments left over. And verse 13, Sunegagan un kai egemisan dodekab kafenus klasmaton ekton pente arton ton krithinon ha eperissusan tois bebrokasin. That is, so they gathered up and they filled 12 baskets with the fragments from the 5 loaves of barley. And think about this, left by those who had eaten. So they gathered up from that little bit of barley 12 baskets with fragments. An amazing miracle. And when the people saw this, notice what happened. When the people saw the sign which he had done, they said, "Indeed, this is the prophet who is to come into the world. Hoi un anthropoi idantes ha apoiesin semean elegan hate autus estin alethos ha prophetes he erkamenos estan cosmo." This has got to be that prophet of Deuteronomy that was the Messiah that was promised to come. And then in verse 15, Jesus un genus hati melusin erkastai kai harpadzen autan hena poi esosin basileia anekoresin palin esta oras autas mana. Jesus perceiving then that they were about to come and take him, seize him, to make him king, he withdrew, or he separated unto a mountain by himself alone. So this sign is the next sign in John's Gospel after the healing at Bethesda. The next sign, and we're going to have a discussion shortly about the bread of life and how Jesus is that bread of life come down from heaven. So John wants us to think about the sign. What a great miracle, showing the omnipotence of Christ. And then he's going to talk about the sign as this points to himself as the bread of life, who can do the greater miracle of giving bread that will be eternal life. And he'll come into that a little bit later here in the chapter. But the next sign is walking on water, showing again the power and the omnipotence of Jesus.